Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Hetvi, and in this video I'll be discussing how to not take things personally. So we reside in a society whereby individuals are very prone to taking things personally. We denounce rejection, so we most certainly hate being criticized. Now, how is it that we can avoid taking things personally then? Now, one of the biggest ways that we can come about to accept the criticisms that we face is to always consider the other perspective. That sometimes it's not always about me. Right? Just for a moment, visualize you entering a room, whether that is your workplace or your classroom. You've entered the room and in front of you are your two co-workers or your co-peers. They're having a discussion. As soon as you walk in, they pause their discussion and greet you. Once you've greeted them, you walk away to carry your own tasks, do your own thing, and from behind you, you hear them giggling. I'll tell you what, I know for a fact that, if I was in that situation, I'd be spending my entire day reliving that moment again and again, thinking of why it could be that they were laughing, thinking of all the reasons that it could be that they found funny, whether that was me, whether that was my look, whether it was the way I was dressed, what it was that was wrong with what I was dressed like, and still wouldn't have known what it was because I wouldn't have gone up to them and questioned, but I would have just been reliving that moment again and again in my head. Or say for example, you're giving a presentation and you find that you're gazing at the audience, someone within the audience is on their phone texting, or they're talking to the person next to them. I'm most likely to kind of lose quite a bit of my confidence when I see that. I'm also likely to question my own presentation, the topic, whether I was, speaking in a monotonous way that made them so bored that they found it a lot more interesting to be texting or talking to the person next to them than to be interested in my presentation, whether my topic was correct, whether that was just a really boring topic for someone to be interested in. Now, this is where you'd want to encourage yourself to consider the other person's perspective. Maybe it could be that as soon as I entered the classroom, the two individuals paused their conversation to greet me, and as soon as I walked away, they resumed their conversation and one of them said a joke that was funny, right? It had nothing to do with me. Likewise, when I was giving that presentation, it could have been that the individual received a text message that they had been awaiting for a very long time, or just an urgent message from office that they had to respond to ASAP. Or perhaps, just perhaps, it could be that that presentation just wasn't their cup of tea. They weren't interested in it. That topic was just boring for them. Sometimes it's important that we put aside our ego of what we consider things to be just about us, that we are the most important thing, that people look at us all the time, to think, well, maybe perhaps people have other important things going on in their life, or there may be other important discussions that they may be speaking of that is irrelevant to ourselves. And it's in acknowledging this fact will we be able to be at peace and ease of mind, more importantly, preventing us from draining all our energy thinking about an event that has no significance in other individuals' lives, especially when it's concerning someone else beyond themselves, right? If we are concerned of ourselves, others are just as concerned of themselves, not of us. So it's always important that you can acknowledge other people's perspectives. If this still doesn't satisfy you, why don't we flip the coin, right? There are two sides to a coin. Likewise, there are always two sides to a story. If it's true that not everything is about me, it can also be true that maybe, it just may be about me. And in acknowledging that sometimes things are about me, right? Changes are required by me. And being able to verbalize how we're feeling, we're acknowledging the mistakes that I've made, the criticisms that have been made, in order to improve those. Whether that is just going up to your friends and confronting them of why it is that you weren't invited to the dinner party. In acknowledging these and being able to empathize with your own self, you're able to allow for those changes to take place. You're able to allow those flaws to be accepted. And once they've been accepted, you can work towards them. But, by being irritated, by being annoyed, by, denouncing them, not really accepting them, you're causing yourself more harm, because first and foremost, you're not going to improve on them. Nor are you allowing that change to occur. So it's extremely important that you allow yourself to verbalize your thoughts and feelings, to prevent yourself from wasting that energy of thinking those thoughts, those events, those circumstances again and again in your head. And more importantly, by not playing the blame game. That's extremely important. Because when you point fingers at others, what are they going to do? Something that we do, we'd start defending ourselves. No, that wasn't me. No, that couldn't have been me. I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have said that. I wouldn't have, not invited you to the party. It definitely was someone else's idea. It wasn't mine. You're not going to go anywhere with that. Nothing's going to resolve with that. But by allowing yourself to speak your mind yet not blame the other person, that is where you've grabbed their attention and they become a lot more receptive to what it is that you're saying. And making it a lot easier for you to then get across your point of view, hear them out, and resolve the issue. So it's extremely important that when you think of a matter that you're finding kind of, pestering your mind, causing you to feel distressed, that is when you want to try and verbalize your thoughts and feelings. Maybe you could jot them down first. If you feel like in that moment you're going to be very angry, or that you're just going to start blaming them, jot them down. What is it that you want to say? What is it that you're finding annoying? What is it that you want to question? Bring that clarity and then go up to that person, have that conversation with them. And what you'll often find is that it's not always about you. People aren't always considering thoughts of you. As brutal as that might be, it's true. We think of ourselves more than others think of us. And that is why we often feel embarrassed more than others do in situations where we are subjected to be in the spotlight, the limelight. And that is why it's extremely important that, we are honest of our own flaws, accepting them and improving them. Because if we are able to accept our own flaws, we don't need others to point their fingers at us, because we already know them. So when others point them out, they're simply reminding you of them. So there's no need for you to take it personally. There's no need for you to get angry or distressed about those, because you already know them and you're already working towards improving them. So to speak, a quick overview. Not everything is about me. Not everything is about you. It's important that we can put aside our ego and take the other perspective into consideration. That is, not everyone is thinking about us, and not everyone is just looking at us. Likewise, there are always two sides to a story, so it could just be about me. And in being able to verbalize and acknowledge, we can strive towards improvement and change. So those would be my two best ways of not taking things personally. So guys, that is it for this video. I really hope that you guys have found this video useful. If you have, guys, be sure to like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that bell icon right next to it to make sure that you're regularly updated. If you have any questions or queries, guys, like always, drop them in the comments section and I'll try my best to answer as many questions as I can. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Take care. Bye.